They called it an uncrackable code. The humans solved it before lunch. The war room of the Galactic Alliance fell silent as Commander Zephyr's tentacles curled in frustration around the holographic display. For 3 standard cycles, the greatest, minds of 17 different species had stared at the same incomprehensible sequence of symbols, patterns, and mathematical constructs that had brought their combined fleets to a standstill. The hegemony's new encryption is unlike anything we've encountered, announced Dr. Kelvar, the Altarian cryptographer whose neural implants processed information at quantum speeds. Our most advanced AI systems have run through 847 trillion possible combinations. The pattern appears to shift based on variables we cannot identify. The assembled delegates, beings whose civilizations had mastered faster than light travel, terraformed dead worlds, and built megastructures around stars, exchanged glances of defeat. The intercepted hegemony transmission contained coordinates for their final assault, but it might as well have been written in the language of cosmic radiation. Perhaps we should consider evacuation protocols, whispered Ambassador Thrix, her crystalline form dimming with despair. If we cannot decode their battle plans— Actually, interrupted a voice from the back of the room, I think I've got it. Every head, tentacle, and optical sensor turned toward the source. Dr. Sarah Chen, the lone human representative on the cryptography team. She sat casually in her chair, a half-eaten sandwich beside her tablet, looking almost embarrassed. By the attention, Commander Zephyr's voice carried 3 distinct tones of disbelief. Dr. Chen, with all due respect to your species' recent inclusion in the Alliance, this code has stumped our finest minds for days. Perhaps you could— Oh, I'm sure it would have taken me days too if I'd been trying to crack it the conventional way, Sarah said, standing and approaching the central display. But see, the thing is, humans have this weird quirk. We're really good at seeing patterns that aren't supposed to be there. She gestured to the swirling mass of incomprehensible symbols. Everyone's been treating this like a traditional encryption, looking for mathematical relationships, frequency analyses, algorithmic keys. But what if it's not about math at all? Dr. Kelvar's implants flashed rapidly. Impossible. All secure. Communication is fundamentally mathematical. The probability of a non-mathematical encryption system functioning at this scale is 0.003%. Yeah, I ran those numbers too, Sarah interrupted with a grin. But humans have this thing called pareidolia. We see faces in clouds, hear voices in static, find meaning in randomness. Usually it's a bug in our neural programming. Sometimes, though, it's a feature. She manipulated the hologram, rotating and reshaping the symbol clusters. What if this isn't a code at all? What if it's a picture? The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as Sarah began connecting seemingly random elements. A curve here, an angle there, patterns that had appeared as mathematical noise suddenly coalesced into something else entirely. Human brains are pattern recognition machines, she explained while working. We evolved to spot predators in tall grass, to see the difference between a stick and a snake at a glance. Our survival depended on finding meaningful patterns in apparent chaos. Ambassador Thrix's form brightened. You're suggesting the hegemony designed this to exploit our logical approach to cryptography? Exactly. They knew we'd throw our best mathematical minds at it, run it through quantum computers, analyze it to death. But they didn't count on the most illogical species in the galaxy taking a look. Sarah made a final adjustment to the display. The room erupted in gasps and exclamations as the symbols transformed. Where once there had been indecipherable encryption, now there was a clear tactical map showing fleet positions, attack vectors, and a countdown timer indicating the hegemony's assault would begin in 18 standard hours. It's a stellar cartograph, breathed Commander Zephyr, hidden in plain sight. Technically, it's more like a 4D connect-the-dots puzzle, Sarah said, picking up her sandwich. The kind of thing human children solve for fun. The hegemony embedded their battle plans in what basically amounts to a visual riddle. Dr. Kelvar's processors whirred in confusion. But how did you know to approach it this way? What led you to consider such an unscientific method? Sarah took a bite of her sandwich and shrugged. Honestly, It reminded me of those magic eye pictures from the 1990s. You know, the ones where you have to unfocus your vision to see the hidden image? My mom had a book full of them. The silence that followed was profound. Here were beings who had conquered the stars, who had built civilizations spanning parsecs, and they had been outsmarted by pattern recognition skills developed by primitive humans to avoid being eaten by saber-toothed tigers. The hegemony's mistake, Sarah continued, was assuming that advanced civilizations think in advanced ways. Sometimes the most sophisticated problems require the most primitive solutions. Commander Zephra's tentacles straightened with renewed purpose. Dr. Chen, your species continues to surprise us. We have 18 hours to prepare our defense based on these coordinates. Actually, we have 17 hours and 42 minutes, Sarah corrected, pointing to a pulsing element in the decoded map. But who's counting? As the war room exploded into activity, fleets repositioning and strategies forming, Sarah quietly finished her lunch. Around her, the greatest military minds in the galaxy worked frantically to save their civilizations, all thanks to a human's ability to see shapes in clouds. The hegemony had called their encryption Uncrackable. They had designed it to stump the most advanced minds in the galaxy. They had crafted the perfect logical trap. They just hadn't counted on human illogic being the key to their defeat. And as Sarah wadded up her sandwich wrapper and tossed it in the recycler, she couldn't help but smile. After all, it was barely past lunchtime and she'd just saved the galaxy. Not bad for a Tuesday.